the Dirty Sports Podcast. I said, welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast with Andy Ruther and Joe Prano. Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host from Port Hueneme, Hawaii, Joey No Chill Prano.
Close. That's where I'll be. that's where I'll be living when I'm back in Los Angeles, in California, Andy.
Oh yeah.
Right now I'm on the North Shore of Oahu.
God damn
in
it,
Hawaii. That's okay. I like that you were trying. You said last week or 2 weeks ago, you're like, I'm never gonna say that. I'm never gonna say it. And now you're already trying. You're trying before I'm even back. So that's great. It does sound like a bit of a Hawaiian name, but
it does.
We're on the North Shore of Oahu still. When you and I first got on camera and did some pre-show convo, it was dark behind me here in Hawaii. Now the sun is coming up. My last day in Hawaii, the sun is coming up here in Hawaii, and the sun is going down on my vacation. I want to move here. If I didn't just move into a new place, I'd move here. But alas, here we are. Last
not
day
cheap
in Hawaii.
though.
It's not cheap. Certainly not at like the supermarket and shit. There's like a food land on the North Shore. I mean, we went the first day and my sister was like, let's just get like the essentials. We can do like a Costco run later in the week or something like that. Do the essentials. I was like, okay, here's $250 for like 2 things of poke, some bananas.
Give me like a loaf of bread. What are we talking here?
I don't know pound for pound the prices of things, but it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's expensive. But it's also like, I'm sure it's not a whole lot different than LA prices, but I mean the supermarket, there's one supermarket on the North Shore and they know it.
Well, for sure. It's like you go to Catalina Island. They got the one Vons there.
Yeah.
And it's expensive as hell.
Yeah.
I just remembered now when I lived in Vegas, the guy you used to buy weed from was Hawaiian. Shout out to Tyson.
What's up, Tyson?
He had this long ponytail. Cool,
you
dude.
Need that weed, brother.
Yeah, and that's how he talked. I worked with him at the Rio. He was one of the pool guys, and we became boys. And he was my go-to, man. He always had the good stuff.
Well, Andy, it's too bad that I'm leaving today because I would be flush with cash to spend on expensive Hawaiian groceries after just a absolutely dominating gambling weekend. I looked at the games after we picked them, and I was like, I do feel pretty good about most of these games. I bet a parlay yesterday, bet a couple games straight, bet a couple money lines. Straight winners this weekend, Andy. And I believe I didn't double check. Mata sent me it the other day, but I believe the only game I've gotten wrong so far in our head-to-head was the game everybody got wrong this weekend, which was the Steelers. I think that's the only game I picked wrong even in our thing. I think I'm 11 for 12 or 10 of 11 or whatever it is so far.
I'm looking right now. Yeah. What was the final score of the Tampa Bay Carolina game? That was within 3.
21-18.
Yeah. So you did. You only missed
Pittsburgh, right?
Rough week for me. You know what's funny? I make the picks with you, and then I don't look at them because I don't remember because they're not up.
Yeah.
I'm not telling Monty he's got to put them up instantly, but I don't look at them. And then in my pick 6 league, I had so many different picks that I got correct that were just complete opposite.
Seems like you should do the pick 6 first.
I know. I think you're right. I should. Because you're gonna take the lead on me now.
Big gambling weekend, big pick'em weekend. What's funny is last week I won my confidence pool. I didn't even come close this week, but that's a whole other ball.
Well, the good news is we both picked, and then I also in my pick'em as well took the Niners.
Yes.
So I won in that.
I know you liked my tweet. Should we play the call again and just like do old takes exposed? Should we just play the Philadelphia Texan in Philadelphia fans call again and just react as if it's our first time listening to it?
Dirty Sports, what's going on? It's your number one Texas Dirtball KT calling at you. So this one is for Prano and Ruther. So I'm a Philly sports fan over here. I just moved to Texas just for the hell of it, for the good weather and everything. But so I hear you guys talking about, mainly Prano here, talking about the Birds every week and saying they're good, but they're not legit Super Bowl contenders like, let's say, the Niners. I don't know if you've been watching every one of these games here, but
you want to end it right there? I wasn't going to play the whole thing. I was going to play just a few more.
I think we'll end it right there. What's funny is like I don't think I ever like said that the Eagles aren't legit Super Bowl contenders. I feel like when I've listed our Super Bowl contenders, I've always said that they're in the mix, even if I'm not as confident in them as I am the Niners. But like I think we can end the call right there. It's like, as compared to the Niners, and it's like, yeah, I think the Niners are a better football team. I think the Niners were a better football team last year. I mean, you can't play the what if Brock Purdy didn't get hurt game because he did get hurt. And props to the Eagles for taking a guy out, getting a solid hit on him early in the game and taking him out and totally changing that game. But they came in full strength to Philadelphia yesterday and absolutely fucking boat raced you.
It was a show, man. Like if you are an offensive guy, I assume most people are, like that was a fun game to watch. I believe it was 6 straight touchdowns on 6 straight drives. As far as the efficiency of the play calling, of the scheming, that thing should go in a museum as far as the Kyle Shanahan playbook. That was I would call that a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And the difference between those two teams could not have been more evident.
Now, why everybody loves football in general and why everybody loves the NFL specifically is the parity. That game does not mean that the Niners would beat the Eagles in a playoff game.
Agreed.
But the fact that it happened in Philly, the fact that it happened
after
with a lot on the line.
Guard.
Yeah. I mean, Nick Sirianni, it's all Nick Sirianni, coach of the year, he's the next great, he's Lombardi, blah blah blah. And it's like, dude, you just got waxed at home. Like without that loss, the 1 seed is yours. And now there'll be a little work for it.
Yeah, well, obviously, I've been saying for a month, I think the Niners catch them. Now, they would have to lose to the Cowboys. The Eagles would. And the Niners would have to win out, which I think the Niners probably will. So it's feasible.
Now, our boy Big Cock Brock has jumped into the MVP race.
Yes.
Let me ask you something, Andy. And this is, again, I'm a Brock Purdy fan. This is me, like, I want the Niners to win the Super Bowl. I've said that again. Like I'm rooting for Brock Purdy to win the Super Bowl MVP because then the Niners would have won the Super Bowl. And I'm rooting for that at this point. How is Christian McCaffrey not there?
I was thinking, okay, so
I just don't understand it.
I threw a few bucks
on touchdown.
I know. So he only had one yesterday, but he still had like 130 all-purpose yards. I threw a few bucks on McCaffrey like a month ago. This is on FanDuel. He was plus 3,000. He's still plus 3,000. I don't get it. And again, Brock Purdy, I have the stat here. Where is it? Let's see here. Sorry, I'm still battling whatever my daughter has. Okay, so he ranks number 1 in passer rating, completion percentage, touchdown per attempts, yards per attempts, and yards per completions. Those are all first in the NFL.
Yeah.
But, and I like Brock too. I just want to say this. I think yesterday was a prime example of what you talk about. Dude, when you hit Debo on a slant or some of these guys and they take it to the house, a lot of yak. There's a lot of yards after catch on him or Ayuk or whoever it is. Doesn't take away he had a great game.
No, he's like, again, like super fan of his, essentially. I think it's just a matter of, in terms of the, for me, the conversation's always overrated, underrated. I don't even necessarily think he's like overrated. I just think some people have like, because of how well they're playing and because of the numbers he's putting up, it's like we're already treating him as this, we're already like talking about him like he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL or whatever.
It's funny. I saw those debates today. I actually saw multiple talking head, stupid shows debating, is he top 5 now? And it's like, we're a quarterback driven league, but again, the scheming and the planning.
You're right. Right. And obviously he's playing as if he's a top 5 quarterback of the league. It's just, in that system, do you not think that there are 5 guys who you plug and play and are even better?
Well, that's what I think. I thought about?
We can debate that all we want.
Well, here's an example. Like, let me just use one close to home. Let's flip the script. Let's say Brock Purdy's on the Bengals team that makes the Super Bowl. Now, he's got his weapons, but he also has the worst O-line in the NFL. I don't think they make the Super Bowl is my point, and I don't think they come close. To me, that's the difference between like a Brock Purdy and a Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is going to get sacked 10 times in a playoff game against the Titans, still somehow find a way to win. I just don't think Brock Purdy is.
I guess, like, setting that aside, my thing is like the what if game. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't want to play the what if Brock Purdy didn't get hurt. I don't want to play the what if Brock Purdy was on a worse team or on a better team or whatever. That's really neither here nor there. Like, he is his numbers. I think he's fantastic. I'm rooting for him. I hope Brock Purdy is the Super Bowl MVP.
It's great.
But I guess you go back to my original question. We did this with the greatest show on turf. We did this we did this with the LaDainian Tomlinson Chargers teams. Like, why is Christian McCaffrey doing what Falk and LaDainian Tomlinson did? And yet the conversations about Phillip Rivers and Kurt Warner, like in those games where Trent Williams was out, where Debo was out, Brock Purdy looked.
But I don't think it was, right? Like those, did LT get an MVP? Marshall Falk got an MVP.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying. We're not doing
it's about those running backs.
Yeah. Like and those teams, everybody's like, Chargers are 14-2 and it's all on LaDainian Tomlinson. It's like for some reason, McCaffrey's doing essentially what those guys were doing, which were being all-purpose backs.
He is. He 100% is.
And carrying a team, and yet he's got 10 times the MVP odds of Purdy.
But again, I think that's how much everything's changed from like an optics standpoint. The quarterback from... You're basically talking 20 years ago. 15 years ago. The quarterback position has changed in the last 15 to 20 years as far as what will be value of it.
Right.
And we've put it on such a pedestal, and so is the league, hence they create all the rules to protect the quarterback. We put it on such a pedestal that we're not going to give credit for these running backs, which sucks because...
And in a way, it's kind of like, I essentially agree with it because the quarterback is the most valuable position. But when you look at this Niners team and who they've been the last few years, Jimmy Garoppolo went to a Super Bowl. So can you really, like, let me ask you something. If in the NFC Championship game, they win the game, but one guy gets hurt going into the Super Bowl, do you think they have a better chance of winning the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy out? And the roster the same, or with McCaffrey out? Because I feel like if you take McCaffrey, if you go into Super Bowl, Brock Purdy, the rest of the thing, and McCaffrey, like without McCaffrey, I'm like, I don't know. Whereas like I'd have a glimmer of hope that like Darnold could step up or whatever.
That's a great question. I mean, if you took McCaffrey out of this offense this whole year, they obviously have some great playmakers. But when they added him to that roster through that trade, they went next level. And I think you see that yesterday when you score in 6 straight drives. When that offense is clicking how it can, when it's maximized, they're not going to lose to anybody. Anybody. When that offense is scoring like that, because the defense is going to be good, even if the defense has a bad day, they're still going to be a good defense. Don't you agree? If they play like they did yesterday, no one's. I'll say this right now.
I said that I think like week 4 of the season, and and we went through some ups and downs, but like, yeah, I mean, I've said that I think 3 weeks into the year.
Exactly. And again, I don't expect them to play like they did yesterday, because that's full potential. But you look at both conferences, who's touching them? The Eagles are the second best team, in my opinion, in the NFC. There's a big drop off after that. But they got boat raced. You look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are struggling. You look at the other teams in the AFC. The Dolphins are still paper tigers to me. You're still paper tigers. I know you're 9-3. Beat a good team.
Yeah.
The Ravens had a bye week, and obviously they're playing good football, but
at this point, when you talk about the Super Bowl, I feel like you have a better chance of the Niners losing before they get there than to one of those AFC teams at this point, with 2 weeks to scheme, with 2 weeks to be healthy, with 2 weeks of all like as thoroughly as they whooped the Eagles.
100%.
You could lose, especially if the Eagles are still, if they hang on to that 1 seed, and you got to go back to Philly in a playoffs. Like, I could see them losing that game. Do I think they're the better team? Yeah. Do it? And this is to the caller. Like, that doesn't mean you couldn't do it, but at the same time, 2 weeks, dude, no one's been on the Chiefs, standing the Chiefs bandwagon since Mahomes joined, like me. Like, I'm just like, every year I'm just like, I think they win the Super Bowl. Now I pick Niners Chiefs to win, to be in the Super Bowl this year. And I just think right now, I mean, the Niners are way more complete than the Chiefs.
Way more. I don't know if and maybe I have short-term memory. I don't remember the Chiefs having this many question marks after 12 games.
Yeah.
It's the offense.
Not in the Mahomes era. No way.
No, right? Because I just looked before we started the show. There are records in the Mahomes era. The worst record they ever had was the 12-5 when they lost to the Bengals in the AFC Championship. Still had the number 1 seed though, right? And that's a factor which I've talked about, right? Mahomes has never, think about this, guys. Mahomes is in his 5th year. Or no, he's played 5 years. This is his 6th year. In his 5 postseasons, he's never played outside of the Super Bowl, which is neutral. He's never played a road playoff game.
None. Wow.
He's never played a road playoff game, which for some reason nobody's talking about that. I think that's very important. Now that they're a game and back of the Ravens, the Dolphins, and if the Jags win tonight, the Jags. This, to me, is the most suspect Chiefs team I've seen. Now, maybe they're cursed by a pop star who's dating one of their players. I don't know.
Love it. I fucking love it.
Just know, Swifties, and we'll end it after that, if they falter in the playoffs, you're going to get a lot of NFL people after.
Everything she touches, dice. Have you seen the clip from the movie Amsterdam? I remember when I watched it for the first time. First of all, I don't know if it was like I don't know if the director is just absolutely the fucking most calculated genius of all time. But it's a movie. Did you see this movie, Andy?
I've never seen it.
Okay, came out last year.
Yeah, I know the movie.
It is star-studded when I say star-studded, I mean it's one of those movies where the trailer was just showing you one frame of every major star that's in it. And I remember seeing it. I forget what movie I saw in theaters, but I'm watching the trailer. I've only seen five movies in theaters since COVID, maybe. I'm watching the trailer last year, and they're going through all the stars. I was like, Jesus, this movie. And then it's like, and Taylor Swift. And I was like, what the fuck? Why would you do that? And then in her second scene, somebody pushes her into the street. And she gets hit by a car. And I was just, I was at home watching it, and my girlfriend's like, why are your pants down? And why are you standing up jacking off? And I was like, because I just watched Taylor Swift die. And she's like, okay, that's an aggressive amount of hate for somebody. And I was like, you have no idea.
That's hilarious.
Anyway, there's that now it's a meme. Like now it's if the Chiefs lose in the playoffs and they show Taylor Swift get hit by a car, like
that's hilarious.
It turned into a meme, and it's so great and so fucking true. And I don't know if the director was like, oh, I'm going to put her in it, but I'm going to brutally murder her in it.
So in the AFC, it's like, who's the top dog now? I don't know. Like right now, I don't know.
Well, let me ask you something. Let me ask you this, because you were just talking about the Chiefs and their, the Chiefs will still have even if they finish fourth or third or whatever, the Chiefs will have a home playoff game to start. Then they would likely be on the road for a division game. And then potentially could be like back at home for an AFC Championship game. Could potentially have to be on the road for
again, I'm not for the record. I don't want anybody thinking who's listening. I'm not rolling them out.
Well, I guess my question is,
they're probably still my favorites.
Right. That was my question.
And that's what I'm saying.
Even if they had to play one or two road games, and you look at a road situation where, I mean, right now, if they ended 4, right, it would essentially be like a road game in Miami. With Miami having a bye in the divisional round.
Yeah, so look, a lot of people obviously are big on because they have a great defense. Baltimore. I still have the Lamar Jackson question mark come playoff time, and also, will he make it there? I mean, the irony of the whole situation of the AFC North, Lamar Jackson is last man standing, starting quarterback.
Yeah, and the Lamar Jackson stands just think it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to them.
They really do.
Like, I guess they all just play a terrible style, and you're like, all right, listen, maybe make it through the end, like get through the rest of the year before you start dancing on people's graves.
Yeah, I agree. And that's my point. Like, that's why I would still have the Chiefs as my favorite. We've seen what they do come playoff time compared to what we've seen Lamar Jackson teams do come playoff time.
Like here, the Chiefs, like if you play it out right now, if they finish 4, they'd have a playoff game at home, and then they would go to Miami. I like them to win in Miami in 100% in that scenario. Now, do I like them to win in Jacksonville if they don't have to leave Florida and they get to stay down there? Maybe. Do I like them going into Miami and then into Baltimore? Ooh, it's tough.
That's a tough one. It's tough.
Because they are suspect. The idea of them just like, moseying through a couple of tough road games.
I agree. And that's where it would get very interesting.
If I was a Chiefs fan looking at that as my potential road to the Super Bowl, I would say you don't need to calm down.
I low-key really want to see what the Jags can do come playoff time.
The Jags.
Yeah. Just because they're young. They won a game last year. They gave KC a hell of a game in Arrowhead last year. I think it'll just be interesting. Even tonight's game, it's like that spread is now up to 10. Everybody thinks they're gonna kill the Bengals.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a double-digit spread, and I obviously I wouldn't be shocked if they did. We both took the Jags. I just think they're interesting because everybody keeps saying, "Oh, we're still a year too early," but I would counter that and say, well, again, they were in the playoffs last year. They did win a game. They did play a good second game, a competitive second game. We might not be a year too early for the Jags.
No. I guess it's just, I mean, it's crazy. It feels like we're going to get a call from a Dolphins fan, even though they may not exist. I think Mac was the last Dolphins man standing.
We have some Dolphins fans. I would love to get a call from a Dolphins fan. 310-359-8365.
It feels like we're talking about like, ooh, Chiefs, could they get through the Ravens? Oh, the Jags, whatever. Like Miami's the 1 seed.
Yeah, but this has shades of Steelers starting 11-0 a few years ago.
By the way, I just want to say one more thing on the I know it's a little reverse. We're going backwards. But you know what I was thinking when I was watching that Niners-Eagles game yesterday after the caller we had? Remember when we've listened to this call the first time, I was like, did we learn nothing from the Vikings last year? This was the Cowboys beating the absolute snot out of the Vikings last year. Remember that? They scored like 49 points on them.
Yeah.
Play a playoff team. I mean, and I guess that
Which, by the way, is another team you and I aren't even talking about, the Cowboys.
Right. And I was just about to go back to that and say that.
They're Miami in the NFC.
Absolutely. And they were last year, and they are this year, and maybe no one's giving them respect, but the Chiefs, for all their problems that the Chiefs have had this year, their defense is the best it's been probably in the Mahomes era.
100% it is.
It didn't look fantastic yesterday.
Yeah, a lot of big plays.
But when you look at Miami, you're like, beat a good team, shut somebody down. When you look at Dallas, you're like, you score a lot of points against really terrible teams. But
even that game, let's be honest, that was a dogfight with the Seahawks.
Yeah. And even that, like, not just a dogfight, but like there was a lot of points scored.
A lot of points scored. Yeah. And that's my thing when it comes to a team like the Dolphins or the Cowboys. We always go back to it. Coach, quarterback, defense. I think both quarterbacks are suspect, especially come playoff time, especially crunch time. The Cowboys have a good defense. The Miami's actually got decent defense, but the Cowboys defense just give up all those points at home to Seattle. Coaching, I don't know. I need to start watching midseason Hard Knocks. I'm actually interested this year. I want to see the Mike McDaniel stuff. He just tries so hard to be cool.
I have a friend who I don't want to sell out who he is because it might give it away, but he knows his shit when it comes to whatever. And his reason for being suspect on Mike McDaniel, he believes Mike McDaniel is wearing Air Force Ones on the sideline that are like 3 sizes too big, just to like look cool and look like
no.
He's like, why is this dude who wears a size 9 in like size 14s?
Dude,
he's like that's suspect right there.
That is.
You're just flip flopping around the sidelines to try to look like you got big feet.
That's Nick Saban putting lifts.
And you know me. I'm big on your footwear. With we were out on Jeff Fisher when he was flip flopping around with the surfboard in the office. We were out on Tevas. Is Mike McDaniel double? Is he double and tripling up on his ankle socks,
bro?
With his jogger, he's coaching in joggers, tripling up on ankle socks, on no-show socks. Just
now, does he have pairs of this, or he suspects this?
He suspects this, but he knows his shit when it comes to such things.
So, I have a call. Speaking of NFL intel, I have a wild, this is insane call. This could be Dirty Sports Breaking on Jim Irsay.
Wow.
This is intel.
Jim the Anvil Irsay.
This is pretty nuts. He had to leave 2 calls and I combined them. I just edited them together to combine them.
Look at this.
Because
editing work.
Well, yeah, because this is insane. And to be honest, once you hear the call, you're going to just go, yeah, that adds up. That makes sense. Jim Irsay might sue us, but I don't really care. This is all alleged.
Okay.
But it's coming from a good source. Listen to this.
Fellas, Landon, the Nashville Dirtball here. Just was catching up on the back catalog and heard the episode you guys did recently where you talked about Jim Irsay and all of the nonsense that he's been spewing on the internet. Thought you'd be interested in little DSPN secondhand speculation via story I have about Jim Irsay. So this guy, we'll call him Mike, used to work with my mother at a law office in the greater Nashville area. And Mike may or may not have spent some time in Division I athletics as a quarterback in his younger years. So through that experience that Mike may or may not have had, he got in contact with the Irsay family and ended up marrying one of Jim Irsay's family members. And now Mike may or may not work alongside Jim Irsay as a personal attaché and legal expert.
Wow.
So
okay.
Mike decided to come back to the greater Nashville area for Thanksgiving because Mike may or may not have family here. And we ended up seeing Mike. And
so now we're up to he is seeing Mike.
Yeah.
So this is
first-hand accounts.
This is where it gets good.
Started talking about stuff and asked him about how the Irsay situation was going because of what you guys talked about. And Mike may or may not have divulged some interesting information. So Jim Irsay allegedly has constructed a subdivision in the greater Indianapolis area with around about 8 homes, and allegedly Jim Irsay Part 2. So allegedly this subdivision that Jim Irsay may or may not have had constructed,
I love this may or may not,
underground tunnels between all 8 of the homes, and the people inhabiting the homes may or may not be some of Jim Irsay's mistresses.
Wow.
So allegedly, I have on
Mistress complex
pretty decent authority that Jim Irsay has a colony of mistresses in a subdivision connected by tunnels in the greater Indianapolis area. Do what you want with that information. All right, have a good day.
Well, Andy, I know what I want to do with that information. I want to name this episode Jim Irsay has a colony of mistresses. I want to clip this and put it on TikTok and all social media. I want to call Jim Irsay out for having an underground tunnel system for
allegedly
for his sister wives.
So this is what it sounds like.
Bro, Jim Irsay, owner of the Colts, has an 8-home subdivision. He's doing construction. Dude, you have to were tunnels built as part of the build? Were tunnels added after? Also, why are mistresses having to go house to house via tunnel? Is there a Harriet Tubman of mistresses that takes them in the Underground Railroad from house to house?
So, you know what this reminds me of? There was a show called The Borgias on Showtime.
Mm-hmm.
It was only a few seasons. I really liked it. It's about, I believe it was Pope Alexander the 5th or 6th. I could be wrong, but anyway. And in the show,
I don't think anybody had a Borgia's reference on their Dirty Sports bingo card for today.
no, or ever. That's what he does, because back then all the popes had mistresses and it was a whole thing. It wasn't just like they were building armies, it wasn't the modern day where they have boy mistresses or whatever. It's like, they had chicks and then they had
Right.
kids and the whole thing. And in that show, that's what he had. He had underground tunnels, and the girls would come into his bedroom because you still couldn't show it, right? Because he's the Pope and he can't have women. And that's what it made me think of. I was like, this is like the show.
This is just a tunnel system so that people can come to the Jim Irsay house in the complex without people seeing the 8 different wives coming and going.
So let's play a game here. Let's play a little hypothetical. Why would this person who has clearly firsthand knowledge just concoct a made up story here?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think from the other side.
It's a wild story to concoct too. Like where do you come up with that one? I'm going to make up something about Jim Irsay. I'm going to make up he has a subdivision with tunnels for his mistresses.
Yeah, and the reason I think this
where
is
there's smoke, not to steal something from the Pope, but where there's smoke, there's fire.
Where there's smoke, there's horse.
Yeah. Like he may not have a tunnel system. He may not have 8 mistresses, but he's got some sort of mistress stable. Jim Irsay has a colony of mistresses.
Now,
and his old mammy is the Harry Tubman. She's taking them on the Underground Railroad.
Well, I think the old mammy is kind of like who was why am I forgetting her? Heidi Fleiss. It's like she's the Heidi Fleiss.
Yeah.
She controls the women. She's the what was Jeffrey Epstein's? What was
Ghislaine Maxwell?
Yes. It's like that's probably what his old mammy's doing. None of this surprised me. Again,
let me tell you something, brother. You come over to my house. We're not going to have 1 girl for you. We're not going to have 2 girls for you. We're not going to have we're going to have 8 girls up in here. It's going to be like King of the Ring, brother.
You want to hear something? I don't have the call. Sorry, whoever left this. Somebody based on that Jim Irsay wrestling call or this episode called and said the whole Brett Favre situation was fascinating with the thing of Mississippi because also indicted was actually the $1 Million Man and his son.
Wow.
So they were actually connected.
Ted DiBiase was connected to the Brett Favre thing?
Yeah, and I guess he somehow got out of it, but his son didn't.
Mm-hmm. Theodore DiBiase, the 4th.
So, like, dude, there's a web.
$1 million son.
there's a whole web going on here, and again, when you talk about billionaire money, like, let's be honest, does this surprise you? It doesn't surprise me at all.
No, but my goal is now to get sued by Jim Irsay. If everybody could tag Jim Irsay with our episode, which is titled Jim Irsay Has a Mistress Colony, and be like, Jim Irsay, is this true? You have a mistress colony? We heard it on the Dirty Sports. I need Jim Irsay tweeting at us.
Allegedly. This is all alleged.
I'll go tag team. I'll have one of my wives and me against you and Andy Ruther for the tag team world championship belt.
It's pretty crazy. Now we have a call about his team as well.
Oh, great.
So we have a football call about his current quarterback situation.
Hey boys, this is Preston, and I just want to take a second to talk about Big Dick Gardner Minshew. I know you mentioned that you think or at least Prano mentioned that he thinks the Colts should be losing games to get a better draft pick. And I understand. With a new coach and Shane Steichen, and obviously we've had the injury problems with Anthony Richardson, I believe that we should be winning games just to get that confidence in Steichen and momentum going into next year. But can you ask for a better backup quarterback? He's won 4 games in a row. He had never won 3 games in a row until this year. He comes with a game-winning touchdown drive in overtime to beat a division rival in a pretty important game at this point in the season. I don't think you can personally ask for anything better from a backup quarterback. I think Gardner Minshew is the supreme backup quarterback in the league. Anyways, just curious your thoughts on how he's played this year, and just I don't know. I just find it very impressive the situation he was thrown into, and the ability to be successful on this team that was honestly just terrible last year. Anyways, stay dirty, boys.
So the truth is, and I'll say this real quick, and you can hop in. I haven't watched closely enough Colts games because they bore the shit out of me.
Yeah. Which
Like,
is
that's
funny
true.
because they're not that boring. Like, the games aren't that boring, but it's just like,
It's AFC South, man.
Yeah, and like, what
Honest
does it
Texans,
mean for
I don't
anybody?
care.
Yeah,
And Jags. Like,
right.
Like, I'm not watching. Like, sorry, yesterday that was one of the games I didn't watch. I'm not watching Colts.
Are the Colts a playoff team right now?
They are.
3 teams are in the playoffs from the AFC South.
Yeah, I didn't watch Colts Titans.
No, nor did I.
They're 7-5. Same record as the Texans.
I mean, what's amazing about Gardner Minshew, because he also went through Philly. He also is in Indy. He also, like, their stops aren't a whole lot different. He's the new Nick Foles, which is, he truly is like he's in a class amongst himself when it comes to backups you have confidence in. And yet the way to turn him back into a pumpkin is to be like, you're the starter. And he's like, oh, I'm the starter. He's like, and not because the other guy's hurt. You're the starter. And then he's like, I'm the worst quarterback in the league. He's only confident being the backup. They're like, just so you know, you're only starting because Anthony Richardson's hurt. And he's like, cool. I am prime Joe Montana. And they're like, you're the starter because you're good. And he's like, I am prime Joe Prano trying to play in the NFL.
Oh, man. Look, man, they're currently a playoff team. They have the Bengals next week in Cincinnati. Again, a very winnable game. If they did win that, then you're 8-5. Then you're in a really good spot. Those losses yesterday by the Steelers and Browns were huge for them.
Matt Canada is somewhere just in a hot tub full of champagne. He was like, oh, it was me? Played the fucking Cardinals, guys.
Yeah.
That might be the worst loss of the year for any team that's like trying to be competitive.
It's a bad loss.
Kenny Pickett doubly officially injury prone.
Yeah. Lots of injury prone guys now. Again, I know I harp on it. This is why every douchebag is like, everybody's going to break the passing records. Everybody's going to be in the top 10. They're all going to be Matt Ryan and fucking Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers. No, they're not, because nobody stays in the field anymore, guys.
Yep.
Nobody.
Could not agree more.
I mean, here's a fun stat. Joe Burrow's missed more games already in his first 5 years than Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, and Russell Wilson combined in their first 5 years.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? Guys don't stay on the field.
Joe Burrow missed more games this weekend than Eli Manning missed in his career.
Yeah, so exactly. It's like, guys don't stay on the field. It's not good for the league. And I don't know what they do, to be honest. They've already coddled the quarterback to the degree that we're all annoyed when we watch these games.
Oh, I mean, the jokes have been out there. It's like the NFL protects the quarterbacks more than they protect like the pregnant girlfriends of NFL players. Like Von Miller would be suspended for the year if he did to his pregnant girlfriend, if he did that to Brock Purdy.
Yeah. But it's a problem, right? Like, dude, I mean, 3 weeks ago, we're like, man, the AFC North, how many teams get into the playoffs?
Yeah.
So competitive, the AFC North. I mean, if Lamar gets hurt,
Now we have 3 AFC South teams. The AFC South popping up.
Well, CJ Stroud he had another good game yesterday.
We got to talk about your boy CJ Stroud because
my boy Russ took a hot, steamy dump yesterday.
Yeah. Everybody had the miracle Russ run.
I thought he was going to pull it out at the end. Look, but here's the deal. I think you'll actually agree with me. Like that interception at the end, that's not
no.
Like you get 20 seconds left. You're on the 12-yard line. You're trying to win the game.
Yeah.
But he had some bad picks. Conversely, CJ Stroud, he's not going to win MVP because they probably won't win the division.
Right.
And that's my thing when it comes to the MVP. I don't get why Dak is so high.
Right.
You can't come second in your division and win the MVP. You just can't.
I think you can, but I just think it's not like that's not the situation you do it in. Dak's not carrying that team.
I'm like Maddie over here, dude. Tissues, nose. I think I have a bad ear infection for real.
Ear infection? 4?
That's my point. I think I do. I think little homegirl gave it to me, and I'm like, you gave me your ear infection. How am I getting an ear infection,
dude? This flu that's going around too is like,
bro.
I think I had a flu last week, 2 weeks ago now, and I was moving, so I just powered through because I felt like shit, but I was just like, ain't nobody got time for this. I just powered through. Then my girlfriend got it. My friend Sam got it. My girlfriend brought it here. My sister got it. My brother-in-law got it. Like, we're in Hawaii. Everybody's got the flu.
That sucks.
Yeah. I was like, well, I've been over it. And then it was like raining. And I was like, I can surf in the rain. I'm already wet. Everybody's like, you're just out here living your best life, huh? I was like, kind of.
I bet that flu.
I golf one day in the rain.
I bet that flu spreads really easy when you have a harem of mistresses in an 8-house subdivision.
Yeah. That's what's gonna be the thing that eventually kills Jim Irsay, is when one of the 8 girls gets the flu and suddenly Jim is on a pile of 8 women who have the flu. He just gets the super flu. The pile of mistresses that Jim Irsay has is where COVID started, because 2 of them were hooking up with each other while they had the flu, and they just made a super flu. A lot of people say China. I say the lab. I say the Irsay lab.
I want to know where this subdivision is. We got to talk about Jordan Love, man.
People had sort of left him for dead, huh?
I did, like as far as this year, and just say let's go next year. Let's hit the reset button. They're now in the playoffs.
Yeah, nice little turnaround for the Packers. I mean,
look, last 3 games, 8 TDs, 0 picks, 857 passing yards.
When you talk about, listen, I know that there's been a lot of busts, historically in the NFL, but when you talk about a guy who was drafted by a team that had Aaron Rodgers, was drafted by a team that over the better part of 40 years, 35 years, has had 2 quarterbacks. You have him backing up Rodgers and being seen by a coaching staff that, we can give all the credit to Rodgers that we want, but back-to-back, what was it, 13-win seasons with Jordan Love as your backup, NFC Championship game appearances, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, I know there's good coaches, bad coaches, whatever. I think the jury's probably out on where LaFleur sits right now, but
he's a good coach.
I mean, he's certainly not a bad coach.
He's never lost a game in December, man.
Right.
That's bad.
I guess my point is like, is he a great coach? Is he whatever? It's like, he's definitely not a bad coach.
Yeah.
So for that guy to watch, and I know Aaron Rodgers essentially forced his way out, but for them to be like confident that like, yeah, okay, well, we have Jordan Love. They got to watch him for a long time. It was kind of, and that's why I didn't do it, but it was kind of jumping to a quick conclusion to be like, bust. We let Rodgers go.
Who was saying that?
A lot of people.
Idiots.
Yeah. Now, the idea that he's going to come in and be Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, like that was also like that's unheard of.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's happened. That's happened to what? How many times in the history of the NFL has that happened? I think we have Joe Montana to Steve Young and Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. Like,
well, you have Peyton to Luck. Obviously, that was shortened by Luck retiring.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. You don't go from one great to another great. It's good for the league. I'll tell you what, the NFC at this point with their resurgence, the Rams resurgence, it'll make it for a more exciting final 5 weeks, final 6 weeks. It's good for the league, I think. I was a little disappointed. I had the Saints covering with us, and I had them covering in my Pick'em league. Jameis just couldn't get it done.
Listen, we have a long-standing history with Jameis Winston and the sociopath that runs a Jameis Winston Stan account. I just want to say one thing about Jameis Winston, separate from all of that shit, separate from all the history. Okay. I have been a Derek Carr defender. Derek Carr, whether it be he's on the latter end of his career, whether it be the Saints coaching is not that good, whether it be whatever, Derek Carr has certainly not like quote unquote worked out in New Orleans. Like he was not their quarterback savior. Every single time there's a situation where Derek Carr's hurt or the Saints aren't playing well or whatever, that Jameis gets a shot. He comes in and he's worse than Carr. Statistically. Hard, factual data, as our boy likes to say. Inarguable, factual data. Look at the games Jameis has come in and relieved Derek Carr. Worse yards per attempt. Lower completion percentage. Lower QB rating. He just comes in and he's worse than Derek Carr. Like, you can be like, Derek Carr has not been the savior for the Saints. But if you're sitting there going, Jameis should be the guy, you're not watching your own fucking games, dude. You're not watching your own games. The games he comes in and relieves him, he's factually, statistically worse.
I'm at your boy, Jameis 101's account. Again, it all goes back to like what I said last episode of like, Jameis is just a piece of shit. Like, he's a piece of shit. He's a shitty human being. And Jameis 101 is retweeting stupid tweets like, Jameis needs to run for mayor when all this is over. I think that's his calling.
Mayor of New Orleans? That's amazing.
Here's a great tweet that Jameis 101 retweeted. An idiot Saints fan from @405 Dentist. Yeah, you sound like a very knowledgeable. It's Kayleen Green, the cosmetic dentist in New Orleans. Oh yeah, I'm sure you have great hot takes on the National Football League. Let's hear them, Kayleen. I love how some Saints fans expect Jameis to come in off the bench and throw dimes after not playing. He has to be perfect. He missed the throw Derek Carr doesn't even try to make. I still strongly believe we have a better chance if we play Jameis for 4 quarters than Carr. Hey, here's the thing, Kaylee. No one believes that. No one has believed that, whether it was Sean Payton, Dennis Allen. Now, you can talk about them as coaches all you want.
Bruce Arians?
Bruce Arians. Like, no one's believed this. No one. No competent NFL head coach. In fact, not even just competent. No single coach / organization in the National Football League has decided to let him be their starter since he left the Bruce Arians situation.
He's had his opportunities in New Orleans. He's had his opportunities. Dude, you get in these games from injury, from bad play, from whatever. Again, I've been a Derek Carr defender. You can think about that. You could say, well, Joe Prano was wrong or whatever. Maybe I was. It's hard to say at this point. Like, I don't necessarily think that this Saints team is like, oh, they were Derek Carr away or whatever. And Derek Carr is certainly not playing the level he's once played. And maybe this is the true Derek Carr the whole time. Hard to say. Like, Derek Carr was not the answer. But he's had his opportunities. He gets in and he plays worse than Derek Carr. Facts. Statistical, factual data. He gets in games. He plays worse than Derek Carr. Facts. Sorry.
Look, the Saints are just kind of a dumpster fire right now as an organization for sure.
Listen, the other thing is, if you're Jameis 1-1 and you're calling for the firing of Dennis Allen or whatever, I'm not saying the Saints shouldn't fire Dennis Allen.
I agree.
But also you called for the firing of Bruce Arians seconds before he won a Super Bowl. Fire Bruce Arians, the clueless coach who doesn't know how to run a football team and wouldn't know Hall of Fame talent if it was sitting on his face. Meanwhile, he was like, I know what Hall of Fame talent looks like. It's that guy right there, and I'd like to win the Super Bowl with him. Can I get him? They're like, are you pointing to Jameis Winston? He's like, no, move dancing Jameis out of the way. Why? I don't know. I don't even know why Jameis is doing the Dougie on the sideline. But if you move him out of the way, you can see I'm pointing at Tom Brady. Jameis, can you move? He's like, I'm shaking all the reporters' hands on the way into the press conference. He's like, why? You didn't even play. Why are you standing outside the press conference? I high five every reporter before the press. Well, can you move? I'm trying to get Tom Brady.
It's always about Jameis, right?
Why are you and the equipment manager doing the kid and play dance? Can you move? I want to sign Tom Brady.
That's my favorite part that we've been the only ones discussing. Everybody, he makes it about himself.
Yeah.
He's not selfless. He's actually selfish. He knows there's a million cameras out there. There's a million people with their phones. Oh, watch me. I'm going to do the fucking electric slide. What are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
Nobody asked for that. But sure. Jameis Winston will fix the situation. It'll be fun to see what happens next year, as always. Like, is he on the Saints? Does another team want to make him their backup? The Bengals should have traded for him. That would have been fun to see.
The Jets should have traded for him, I mean, he would be better than the Jets quarterback situation. He's better than Zach Wilson, who's also a top 2 pick bust.
I know, man. What a mess. That's what I'm saying. Like, this year is crazy. The Jets suck. The Patriots. I mean, dude, I didn't watch a single play. The Patriots game was 6-0.
And the spread was 5.5.
Oh, that fucking thing.
5.5.
Unbelievable.
The Patriots are the only team since since before the forward pass to lose 3 straight games while giving up less than 10 points.
That's a great stat. I didn't know that. That's a good one. It's unbelievable. We actually have a call. I forgot about this one. We have a call sitting in the queue about our boy, Jameis 101.
Wow.
Hey boys, Brian Heinrich here, and my work just to prove my vacation time. I just bought my tickets for the show, so I'll see you boys in New Orleans. But
Yes.
A couple podcasts ago, when that dirtball brought up Jameis 101 not getting his due, really kind of resonated with me, and I assume other dirtballs. Now, you guys are right. He doesn't feel shame, so there's nothing we can really do about that. However, if you guys are willing, I think you should let him on the show. Obviously his mind won't change, but hearing his dumbass ramblings and hearing him get just heated at y'all for just saying facts, I think would give me and the other dirtballs that peace of mind about him we were looking for. Now I respect that you guys didn't have him on without showing his identity, but now we know exactly who he is, down to where he lives and how many suits he's selling. If he does the show and doesn't show his face, you guys could I don't know, put his name up on there, or put Ethan up there, or put a pic of what he really looks like, or a stupid caricature his book, if that's even possible. I don't know. It's just an idea, and I totally get it if y'all just don't want that fucking lunatic anywhere near your show. I get it, but think about this. Right before the 1,000th Dirty Sports episode, we have episode 999. The worst guest in DS history. All right, thanks, boys. Condoms are for Ethan.
It's tempting. It's tempting, and you know why it's tempting, Andy? Because he loves to go on local dipshit radio shows in
They don't
New
get pushed
Orleans
back.
and in Tampa and whatever. And little does he know, Joe Prano and Andy Ruther are the facts only guys.
Yeah.
He comes in games. He performs worse than Derek Carr.
Well, that's the thing. I mean,
Leave all your asterisks out.
He's only going on
behind
shows.
Brian Hoyer in 2021 in QBR, unless you put asterisk minimum 7.5 starts.
He would only go on shows where they're going to agree with him. So if he came on here and I said, look, man, what I actually just said to you, it's clearly no team GM across the league.
That's because the media is out to get him. He's the most attacked quarterback for no reason whatsoever.
I would be fun to mess with him on the all the sexual assault stuff.
Yeah, and which is what's so funny is we're even the theoretical idea that the media and GMs and whatever they all have out for Jameis for no reason whatsoever. I think it's the rapes. I think that's why they don't want him. I think it's the rapes. It's not no reason. I think it's the fucker right in the pussy. I think it's the stealing. And also mostly the rapes.
But I'll counter that.
The LAPD is out to get OJ. They're out to get him. And no one knows. I think it's the blood on him. I think it was all the blood.
And I would counter even that and say, okay, take that out of it. We know the NFL doesn't care about the rapes. We do. I mean, that's the truth.
Right.
The NFL doesn't care if you're a wife beater, a rapist, a murderer, whatever. The NFL does not give a shit. If you can play football, we will hire you. And we will hire you as a starter. And they haven't done that.
Yep.
So that actually makes his argument even worse.
Right.
You're it's not because of that. It's because you're just not good.
Well, it's certainly the combination, right? It's if you have character issues, we've said it all before. You have character issues, you got to be good.
You got to be good.
He's got character issues, and he's not good.
Johnny Manziel didn't make it in the league because he had character issues, and he wasn't good.
Right.
This isn't. Von Miller's had a few run-ins for the record. This isn't his first one.
Give me 3 seconds. I just need to do something really quick.
You go for it. Von Miller's had a great career, a Hall of Fame career. So people are going to hire him. He's good. The NFL really does not care about the off-the-field stuff. They act like they care. They're like every company out here who acts like they care about these things. They don't care. Are you good? Can you play? Cool. And he can't. And he never will. And the future of Jameis 101 is fascinating to me because of that. Because at some point, he won't be a backup in the league. He won't be playing in the NFL anymore. And that's where I can't wait. Like, I'm excited for 4 years from now when Jameis isn't in the league. And you're like, what is this guy still making a Twitter account about Jameis Winston? This really is a movie. It's a movie. It's a documentary. Somebody invested all this money in Jameis Winston cards, realized it was a colossal mistake, and doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on it.
Yeah.
With a book and a incessant Twitter feed. It's fascinating.
Fascinating.
And I think that it leads to
fascinating mental illness.
It is fascinating. And I think that's a great lead in, Jameis Winston, to discuss the debacle of Florida State not making a college football playoff.
Oh my God. Well, here's the one thing I love, and it's too late because college football's already lost me. It's far, far, far too late to save a guy like me. But there was a time, and I still say it, and I'll continue to say it because they still didn't do it right. 16-team playoff. 16-team playoff. Like every other division of college football. 16 teams. 16. 16. It's always been 16. It should always be 16. It's always been 16. And we had calls on this show, Andy. We had calls. You guys don't understand. It'll devalue the regular season. Dude, the devalue, the Florida State just went undefeated in the regular season. How much value could the regular season have? And now we're at a point because of this year and because people have accepted their fate. Everybody loves 12 now. Everybody loves 12. Can't wait for 12. This won't happen when we have 12. Next year when we have 12. You're all fucking idiots. You all should have been on this trip. We wouldn't have this issue if you guys didn't push back so fucking hard about it the whole time. And still is not going to be right. Imagine going undefeated. Being a major college football program. We're not talking about Tulane went undefeated.
Yeah.
We're talking about Florida State went undefeated. And
they scheduled LSU right away. Right away. When LSU was top 10. Beat them. And it wasn't a home game. It's just like, this is what I want people to know. And I'm like you. Like, I ultimately don't care. And as far as like the nail in the coffin for me, like, I really will not watch any of these games. It's there's no bigger sham that I've ever seen than the college football Division I level, whatever it's been called, FBS. But what people don't realize, guys, this isn't new. Joe and I's entire life, and I pulled up some actual numbers on it. The amount of times two teams have gone undefeated, or three, and they didn't know who was the champ, it's happened a lot. I mean, let me just go through it. How about 1991? I remember this.
Yep.
The U, they go undefeated. So does Washington. The U is ranked number 1 in the AP poll. Washington is ranked number 1 in the coaches poll. So we have a split national What a split, guys! This is fucking 30 plus years ago. A split national championship. 1994. Remember that one? I believe that was the Tommy Frazier led Nebraska team was the national champs. The Penn State team, which had Kajana
Collins.
Carter, Kerry Collins, Ingram, they go undefeated. No, they're number 2. Right? How about 1997? Michigan, Nebraska both go undefeated. I mean, the list goes on and on. How about, remember this one in 2004? Auburn goes it's like this year's Florida State. They go all the way through the SEC undefeated. No, they're number 3. Oklahoma plays USC in the title game. USC beats the shit out of them, and Auburn's just stuck there. The Boise State team in 2009. I mean, it's the Andy Dalton Texas Christian team in 2010. How many times is this going to happen?
Meanwhile, again, this would all have been solved, except you dipshits who are fans of college football, then the regular season won't matter. How much less could the regular season matter that Bama lost? Florida State didn't. Bama's in. Florida State's not. That's it. The regular season doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if Bama wins or loses. It doesn't matter if Florida State wins or loses. The regular season could not matter less. Could not matter less. You're a major historical college football program with multiple national titles. You go
Heisman
undefeated.
winners.
You go undefeated. You're not in. You're a team in Alabama who's been in God knows how many national championship games in the last so many years. Loses and still gets in. It's so you're a fucking dork loser if you watch college football because they're making an idiot out of you. They're making an absolute idiot out of you.
I just don't know how you can ever vest.
It would essentially. Can you imagine if the Super Bowl occurred and they were like the world champion is the team that didn't play in the Super Bowl because they didn't lose that game and the team that lost, like.
Or how about this one, Joe?
Can you imagine if the New York Football Giants that beat the undefeated Patriots weren't the champs because they were like, yeah, you beat them, and that's why they can't be it. But now the champs are the San Diego Chargers.
Well, I'm going to take it one step further. Can you imagine if the Jeff Hostetler Giants didn't get to play in the playoffs because they had a backup?
Eagles.
The Nick Foles Eagles because they had a backup.
Let's just talk about how much of a fucking dork loser you have to be to watch a sport. You spend your time watching a sport. You buy tickets, you buy jerseys, you go to game to watch a sport. Is it the only sport in all of the world that is not settled by playing the matches?
I mean, I think that's what I'm serious. I think it is. It really is.
It's the only sport in the world where you don't play the games to determine who wins.
It's the only sport. A committee is saying these are the best 4 teams. What are we doing here?
Imagine that happened in baseball. Neither of the teams that were in the World Series would have had an opportunity. Now, our former intern would have loved it. He'd been like, Dodgers get in the championship. They don't even have to play the game.
Well, it's like the tweet I retweeted. I don't even know. It's just some random account. NFL playoff seeding. Win-loss record, then head-to-head matchup, then divisional record, then strength of schedule. Clear and concise. College football playoff seeding. The Shadow Council decides.
Yeah. Imagine spending your life watching that.
I just don't get it, guys. I really don't. Like, and I know people listen to our show and watch. But how? Go. Here's the thing. It doesn't mean I'm never going to go to a college game. It doesn't mean that there aren't fun experiences. I'm not saying that. But I'm talking, it's like I tweeted too. I'm talking vested, serious interest. Oh, you went to Ohio State? Cool. You like to go to Ohio State games? Cool. But I'm talking taking it seriously with a vested interest. I just listed 30 years of debatable national champions. 30 years. And by the way, it goes way back farther if you want to just Google it. It literally goes back to the 40s. Who was the true national champion? It's the only sport this happens. And it doesn't happen in Division II football. And it doesn't happen in Division III football. Because they have a playoff. So you've waited this long to go to like a 12-team playoff? And it's not the same, well, then you need to do 14. It's like, look, March Madness has it figured out. There's 64 teams. They added 4. There's 68 teams, essentially. Yes, somebody might not make it, but they weren't going to win the title. It is the biggest joke
in all sports.
Of all sports. All sports.
Across sports. Because I can't think of, I don't know everything about every sport, but like, I don't know what goes on in darts or bowling, but I know tennis, golf, soccer, basketball, baseball, football, hockey.
Like, why should, so Florida State is supposed to play Georgia, who also should be in, by the way, Georgia won 29 games in a row.
I don't give a fuck.
No, I know, but my point is like,
my point is, it's all fucking ludicrous.
It's all ludicrous.
All fucking ludicrous.
But that's my point. Like you're leaving out good one-loss teams. My point, what I was about to say at the end of the day is, I don't even know why Florida State shows up. I'm serious. Why play? I'd say fuck you. Fuck you. You want me to play in the Orange Bowl? Fuck you. We went undefeated. You're literally using an excuse of a backup or a third string quarterback? What planet are we living on? And I'll tell you what, they're all, dude, you need to really question your decisions if you're a Florida State fan and you travel and you pay and you go to the game. Like,
dude, you needed to question it before this. You need to question your decisions if you watch college. Guys, Saturday. It happens on Saturday, not Friday, where you have to spend half the day working before partying. Not Sunday, where you got to worry about how you feel the next day before going to work. Saturday. College football happens on the weekend day, and you spend it watching kids get brain damage so that a bunch of fucking Dungeons and Dragons adults can roll a 10-sided die and decide who gets to play for the championship.
It's like I tweeted, guys, the college football selection committee chair, his name is Boo. He went on national TV with the name Boo. Boo?
It could
Are
only
you, are you a character from a fucking novel?
I mean, first of all, everybody who involved in college football should be booed. So that tracks. The only way it could be a more fitting name is if the president of the fucking council was called Dipshit Johnson. And now with the announcement of the 4 teams, Dipshit Johnson.
Yeah. What a just a complete and utter joke. There's nothing else to say. And we're not going to talk about it besides that. And we don't. Obviously, we don't. Like, you come to my house, there's not college games on Saturday. I just don't care. Just don't give a shit. Don't care. I do want to know, though. I want to know. I would love a call. I would, though. I would love a call from a dirtball who's like, this is why. Why do you watch?
Atmosphere, Andy? There's nothing like the atmosphere.
But like
going
I said,
down to the Grove and watching 2 teams play, even though it doesn't fucking matter. Guys, go to a bar.
No, but like I said, like I'm not saying I'm never going to games. My point is like there's a difference between like, oh, I don't really give a shit. It's a social thing. Yeah. I'm talking people who actually care. You actually have an emotional vested interest. It's like a fan of a team where you're like, hey, my goal is to win the Super Bowl. My goal is to win the NBA championship. Tell me why you're a diehard fan of the Iowa Hawkeyes. Tell me why. Why are you a diehard fan if you can go undefeated and not even make a playoff? Why do you have a actual
Andy,
vested?
The answer is the exact. I do. This is me shitting on the middle of the country all the time. It's the same reason they eat at Applebee's, because we don't have other options, dude. Because we live in Iowa.
It's just insane to me.
Of course, I've been saying it for Andy. I was a journalism major. I wrote for my college paper. I wrote about the fraudulent playoff system. I was in college 22 years ago. I wrote about the fraudulent college football system.
But this is peak. This is peak.
I wrote about it from the angle of how fun is Lehigh playoff football? It gets decided on the field. None of this matters.
Yeah. But that's my point. Like this is peak. We've reached. It's always been, I agree, absurd, ridiculous. But we've reached peak. I mean, we've reached peak. Like, again, Florida State, Power 5 conference, doesn't lose a game, doesn't have a chance to play for the national title. And one of the reasons is that they're on their third string quarterback.
Remember when Alabama won the championship by putting in a backup quarterback during the championship game?
It's insane. It's fucking insane. And everything about college football sucks because it's, to me, everything about these universities that don't even care about actual education. It all sucks. And you're right. Lehigh football was probably way better because they had probably a 16-team playoff.
Yeah. It was awesome. We traveled to UMass one year for a playoff game. We traveled, like, you were like, and if we beat this team, we're playing here. Just like every other sports competition on planet Earth. It was solved by a playoff system at the end of the year.
Not that hard. Think about all the years it took. All the years. This is what's funny about college football. It took them all those years not to just say the voters. There's two polls. There's the AP, there's the Associated Press, there's the writer poll, and there's the college coaches poll, the USA Today. It took them that many years not to just decide the champion by polls. Then they did the BCS, which was still fucked up, the computer system. Then they finally did a playoff with just two teams. Then they finally said, okay, we'll make it 4. It's college football to me. It's not even dial-up internet in the world's using high-speed internet. They're on Morse code. They're on Morse code. You're using Morse code. The rest of the world is like, I got an iPhone, man.
Here's the deal.
Are you doing?
If your playoff system has less participants than Jim Irsay has mistresses connected by underground tunnels, you don't have enough teams in your system.
Fair point. And that's a good way to wrap it up. You have a flight to get to.
I do. Thanks, Andy. Let me just say thank you to everybody for buying tickets to the Dirty Sports Podcast 1000th episode. We got a call. Tickets are rolling in. Get your tickets, guys. And to our stand-up show, I put it on. Shout out to DJ Sizzle. Made a poster. I put it up on my Instagram story, which you can follow at Joe Prano. I'm going to put it on a full post today. Dirty Sports 1000th episode, stand-up comedy show headlined by yours truly and the Dirty Sports All-Stars. Andy Ruther, Andy Lazarus, Justin Wood, Pete Sestaro, all December 16th in New Orleans. Get your tickets now. Tomorrow night, I'm at the Hollywood Improv, December 5th, a night of sports comedy. Get your tickets now. Get your tickets now for that one. And also get your tickets for New Orleans now. The sooner you buy your tickets to everything, the better. Stop wasting money on college football. These things matter. Follow me on all social media at Joe Prano. And yeah, come out and see a show.
Cool. Yeah, guys, give us a ring, 310-359-8365. Looking forward to seeing you guys in New Orleans in less than 2 weeks. All right, guys, that's our show. We'll be back on Thursday. Have a great start to your week. And as always, stay dirty.